Joseph did everything right and still lost everything. He was loved by his father, betrayed by his brothers, sold like property, tempted, falsely accused, and locked behind prison walls. No trial, no defence, no explanation from God. Yet this broken slave would one day stand before kings. This is not just a story about suffering. It's a story about what God does when obedience leads you into the fire. Stay with me, because Joseph's prison was not the end. It was the doorway to purpose. Joseph was not an ordinary boy. He was the son of Jacob, born in his father's old age by Jacob's beloved wife, Rachel. Joseph was loved deeply, favoured openly, and marked by distinction. His father clothed him in a richly decorated robe, a public sign that Joseph was special, chosen. But favour attracts attention, and sometimes it attracts hatred. Joseph had dreams of greatness, dreams where his family bowed before him. Innocently he shared them. But his brothers didn't hear destiny, they heard pride. Envy settled into their hearts. Resentment grew quietly, then violently. One day, Jacob sent Joseph to check on his brothers in the fields of Dothan. He went willingly, unaware that this walk would change his life forever. When his brothers saw him coming from afar, they plotted. "Here comes the dreamer," they said. They stripped him of his robe, the symbol of love, identity, and favour, and threw him into an empty pit. No water, no comfort, only darkness and betrayal. Later, as a caravan of Ishmaelite merchants passed by on their way to Egypt, the brothers made a decision that would haunt history. They sold Joseph for 20 pieces of silver, not to strangers who found him wandering, not by accident. They sold him. Joseph was taken, bound, and carried into Egypt, while his brothers returned home and lied to their father, claiming he was dead. The pit was over, but the pain had just begun. In Egypt, Joseph was sold again, this time to Potiphar, the captain of Pharaoh's guard. Joseph was now a slave in a foreign land, separated from family, culture, and promise. Yet even here, something remarkable happened. God was with him. Everything Joseph touched prospered. His diligence, integrity, and excellence could not be ignored. Potiphar noticed, and soon Joseph was promoted from servant to overseer of the entire household. He had authority, trust, responsibility, but with elevation came temptation. Potiphar's wife noticed Joseph, his strength, his character, his presence. Day after day, she pressured him to compromise, but day after day, Joseph refused. "How can I do this great wickedness and sin against God?" he said. Joseph chose integrity over comfort, obedience over opportunity. Then came the day that changed everything. One day Joseph was alone in the house, doing his work. Potiphar's wife seized the moment. She grabbed his garment and demanded that he stay. But Joseph did the unthinkable. He ran. He left the garment behind and fled the house. What looked like weakness was actually strength, but the rejection wounded her pride. Holding the garment, she rewrote the story. She accused Joseph of attacking her. She told the servants. Then she told her husband. The evidence was the garment Joseph left behind. Joseph never got a trial. He never got a chance to defend himself. Potiphar burned with anger, and Joseph was thrown into prison, the place where Pharaoh's prisoners were kept. Joseph had done nothing wrong, yet once again he found himself in chains. The prison was dark, cold, final. Dreams die in places like this. But even here, God was with Joseph. The prison warden noticed him. Joseph was trusted. Soon the prisoner became a leader among prisoners. Joseph served, even while suffering. Then 2 royal officials were thrown into the same prison, Pharaoh's chief cupbearer and chief baker. One night, both men had troubling dreams. Joseph found them worrying about their dreams, but told them that God is the interpreter of dreams. As God had given Joseph the gift of interpreting dreams, he interpreted theirs. One dream meant restoration, the other meant judgment. The cupbearer's dream meant he'd be released, and the baker's dream meant he'd be executed. Everything Joseph said came to pass. Before the cupbearer was released, Joseph made one request: "Remember me when it is well with you." But when the cupbearer returned to Pharaoh's palace, he forgot Joseph. 2 years passed, 2 years of silence, 2 years of waiting, 2 years of faith tested behind bars. Then Pharaoh dreamed, dreams that no magician or wise man in the whole of Egypt could explain. Suddenly, the cupbearer remembered. "There is a man in prison," he said, "who can interpret dreams." Joseph was brought out, shaved, cleaned, and stood before Pharaoh. He did not boast. He did not claim power. "It is not in me," Joseph said. "God will give Pharaoh an answer." Joseph interpreted the dreams. 7 years of abundance were coming, followed by 7 years of severe famine. Then Joseph did something unexpected. He offered wisdom, a plan. Pharaoh listened. And in one moment, Joseph was promoted from prisoner to prime minister, second only to Pharaoh himself. He was clothed in fine linen. A ring was placed on his finger. Authority was given into his hands. The slave had become a ruler. The prisoner had become a saviour of nations. Years later, famine drove Joseph's brothers to Egypt, seeking food. They bowed before him, just as he once dreamed. But Joseph had been changed by pain, shaped by mercy. "You meant evil against me," he said, "but God meant it for good. Every pit, every chain, every false accusation, none of it was wasted." Joseph cried severally when he met his brothers, but worked to reconcile with them. Joseph's story teaches us this: you can be called and still be crushed. You can be faithful and still be falsely accused. You can be forgotten by people and still remembered by God. If you're in a pit right now, if your prison feels endless, if doing right has cost you everything, hold on. God is not done writing your story.